Hello everybody, welcome back to another Arkham Horror the Card Game list video. Today we're going to be talking about our top 5 deck testing scenarios. I'll be completely real with you guys. I think the first 4 are good and number 5 is just because 5 is a nicer number for a list than 4. So why don't we dive in and talk about number 5 first. I do think the arguments for it are, this is just in 5, it's not supposed to, but we're going to roll with the punches. That's how we do it here. We got the Witching Hour. This is the first scenario from the Circle Undone where everyone is separated, and then there is the big-ass boss fight at the end with the witches in the center of the woods.
Yeah, this one's just like, can your deck function on its own?
Honestly,
maybe your monster killer gets bogged down. Maybe your clue getter is like incapacitated for some reason. Like, can you, as the monster hunter, get clues? Or can you, as the clue getter, deal with 1 or 2 monsters?
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Like, this is like the worst case scenario. I need to test my deck out for like the worst case scenario type of thing. Can it handle me doing the thing I'm not supposed to be doing? Or am I just like up shit creek, right?
Yeah.
It also has a nice big boss fight at the end, right? I think any scenario with a boss fight is pretty accurate for what the majority of the scenarios are. So being able to test for that is always a good thing.
Yeah, my primary vote against this one stems from the fact that it takes a while to set up. And
cool. If that's your problem, let's go to number 4. Which is the Threads of Fate. Which I think outside of setup, this one takes a long time to set up. And it's also very in-depth. So that's why like it's lower on this rating system we have. But I think the game itself is pretty good for testing your deck. There's a lot of movement because you're in Arkham. There's a lot of different things and different methods that you can use to complete your objective. It basically is like the Midnight Mask light, in a way.
Yeah, it's a good scenario. You got lots of this one does have like a little bit more replayability than Midnight Masks, because like you can shuffle around and like decide which different routes you're going and stuff like that. But
yeah, especially standalone.
Yeah.
When it doesn't matter and you could for once save Alejandro, but why would you?
No deal.
Because you haven't played the scenario yet, you don't know what kind of person he is.
Yeah. But I think the setup time is a bit of a nightmare. But I think the scenario itself would be good for testing decks out.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to get to some ones that we can like talk about.
Some good ones.
Guardians of the Abyss. So this is a 2-part. We actually are like putting the 2 scenarios together in this one. Because it's like a full package, and it's like testing yourself in a mini campaign that's a bit more exciting than playing The Gathering, which is a snore, the Midnight Masks, which is good, and then the the Devourer Below, which is not that fun, right? Guardians of the Abyss, I think, does a lot better for that kind of testing idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The second scenario is called The Night's Usurper, for what it's worth.
So sick.
But this one is like hard.
Yes.
Yeah. So like if you play this one and you find you can't beat it with your deck, it doesn't mean that your deck is bad necessarily.
Yeah.
But this scenario is just very hard.
And I'll be with that. I think I should also, with deck testing, to me, it's less about like beating the scenario, but more just seeing where the weaknesses of your deck is. And I think this scenario, because it's hard, will show that quicker than the other scenarios on this list.
Yeah, if your deck's not up to snuff, you'll learn.
Yeah,
it'll learn you real good.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a bunch of enemies that'll just kill you if you don't deal with them.
Yeah. I guess then with that in mind, like we should also just quickly talk about like in a campaign game like this where it's story based, why would people want to test the deck? Like, why is that important? Like, I like testing the decks out, right? And also just like for us, it's a bit different. We play test to also learn about all the cards because we talk about them and try to pretend we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's not so much about like testing one specific deck unless you're one of the people whose enjoyment from the game comes from playing on something like Expert, where you're like, I'm going to spend X number of months like tuning a deck so that way I can beat the Dunwich Legacy with the best ending on Expert or whatever.
Yeah.
For us, it is a lot more of just like having like a nice free environment where we can try out some experience cards and see if we like them, if they're worth buying. And it's a lot more about testing the individual cards, I think, for us than for decks as a whole.
I think
occasionally about trying out a new archetype that or an old one that just got a bunch of new cards to support it.
They don't want to commit an 8-hour campaign to.
Yeah, right.
I think deck testing also could be relevant for if you have someone who's played a few times, like if has gone through the whole intro campaign, and they're like, I want to try it out, but I don't want to commit to anything. I think that maybe not Guardians, but the next two on the list are really good to just kind of show them and play them. I think number 2 exceptionally as well for that.
You remember the dumb hour below? This is like that, but both scenarios are.
Yeah, it's super
and they
hard.
won't kill you fast.
I've only played this one like our 2 times that we played it because we did a mulligan. I would love to play Guardians of the Abyss again.
Brandon and I played a little bit, and we didn't do good.
I mean, like we did pretty well in the first scenario, and then in the second scenario, we just
the game broke both, like all 4 of our collective legs.
Yeah,
amazing. That's so good. All right, let's get to number 2.
We got to like location 2 and then never moved again.
That's so funny. It Eldritch Horrored you. Because Arkham Horror the card game it's not like the other Arkham Files games where they can like Arkham Horror you or Eldritch Horror you. And then this one said, hey, you know what? I'm going to just do it anyway. Fuck the rules.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, Murder at the Excelsior Hotel. So of note, both this and Guardians of the Abyss are standalone, which I think makes them better for deck testing as well. But I do think Murder at the Excelsior Hotel is a fantastic deck testing scenario. Like,
yeah, a big part of that I think is like the variability in the game's ending. So like, not only do you get to test your deck, there's also like a little bit of I need to be able to deal with things that I wasn't expecting, but also like
you won't know the
result. Get to experience new content at the same time while still playing something familiar.
Yeah, because there's different objectives that you can get, different MacGuffins, and they can appear in different rooms, or you need to take them to different places, and that's exciting because there's some variety.
On a side note, if you were like just looking for like a cheap pickup to add your collection, but you didn't have them, you don't like have the money to commit to a full cycle right now. Like you get so much playtime out of this scenario.
Yeah,
tons of bang for your buck.
I think it was designed. I think by I could be speaking out my ass here, but I was under the impression this was designed by you guys talk about it, I want to actually figure this out. Oh no, but I can't press the space bar. Don't worry about me. I'm not going to figure it out. But it was designed, I think, by someone who runs one of the podcasts or something like that. If I'm wrong, I apologize for this. YouTube will correct me, and they'll have the correct information below. But they nailed it. Like, it's so flavorful. I think this is a fantastic one, as I was saying, with that one option of deck testing, of showing someone the game beyond the initial scenario and just being like, hey, build what you want, and we'll just play. I think Murder at the Excelsior Hotel is fantastic for that. Because it's so
not super difficult.
Too.
It's not going to just blow you out in the middle of nowhere.
And you also can take different choices. Like, you can be like, in this scenario, this time, we're going to kill cops. And this time, we don't kill cops because we're good people, right?
You might want to think, like, killing cops is like a slippery road in this scenario.
I do believe it. But you can do that. If you want to deck test against a slippery road, that's the way to do it. Just start.
Brandon and I played this one a lot, and that might not be where you want to be.
Cool. Let's go to number 1, which I imagine will be no surprise for the people who follow our channel quite a bit. It is the Midnight Mask.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Easy setup. You have to have it. If you're playing the game, you have this scenario.
Yeah. That's, I think, also why it can eke out Excelsior a little, like, a bit on the list, right? Because it's there, right?
It's also like got a very, very obvious sort of like grading scale for how well you do. Where you're like, yeah, we got all 6 of them with 2 turns to spare. Like, we absolutely crush it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like, we got 2 at the end, you're like,
Travis, you're 100% right. It's the only one where you can give a percentile rating for like roughly how good your deck is.
Yeah.
And it makes you do everything. Like, everyone has to be efficient in the Midnight Masks to do well. And it's fantastic for testing your deck against. It's the one we use. We'll probably use Excelsior next time we deck test. But of our 6 deck testing videos, it's been the Midnight Mask each time.
Yep, yeah. And back when I used to like play by myself to test those scenarios, this is the one I would use.
Yeah.
Or to test our cards and decks.
I never go into a campaign with a plan for what my deck's gonna do. I just wing it.
Well, no, now you do, Bryn. You just know Jellyfish Egg. That's your only plan.
Jellyfish Egg is sick.
It is sick. Yeah. Do you ever fear that at a certain point we've all hit the thing now that we can never go back and not do? Like me with Pete, Bryn with his Jellyfish Egg, and Travis with having 100 cards in hand. Like, do you ever worry
I'm gonna get 100 cards in hand again. What are you talking about?
You just worry that
the only thing I'm never gonna be able to go back and do is shoot Justin at a party in Carcosa.
That was I would rather we didn't go back to that, but to each their own, right?
That moment will never be recreated.
No, it was so good. If you haven't watched it, go skim through our Last King Carcosa playthroughs, where I'm Min and he's Mark, and just live it. Anyways, that's our list for our top 5 deck testing scenarios. We'll be back next Thursday with another list video, which I can tell you right now is the top 5 most punishing treachery cards. That one's going to be fun. I always like video where we talk about the tough stuff. So, if you have any suggestions for future list videos, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.